Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. It's been described, or I guess I've described this Roll or Die podcast as sort of me chatting with my mates. So today I'm bringing to you one of my longest time mates in Jiu Jitsu. I've known him for pretty much since I first started. He taught me my first submission, and he is a really interesting character. He's also known as Mr. Kapai Puku. So anybody that's been around the traps in Jiu-Jitsu for a while, I'm sure knows exactly what Kapai Puku is. We're going to get to know him a little bit more behind the scenes. He's been a black belt for over 10 years. He's from my old club, Peter Devine, and he is Graeme Johnstone. Thanks for joining us, Graeme.
Oh, thanks, Kapai. Wicked. Hey, and also thanks for reaching out to both of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Can you declare for me sitting down here?
Yeah. So you've got a really interesting story to tell, both on and off the mat. So yeah, we want to get to know you a little bit more and share that with our audience.
Whatever I can do to help.
Well, first of all, that you have an accent. Is that like a New Zealand accent? Is that what I'm picking up?
Yeah. So my mother's Maori, although in New Zealand would go Maori, and my tribe is Ngāti Huia, and my dad, when he was alive, was he was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Irishman. And interestingly enough, like I was born in 1964, so that means I'm 60 years old next year, and it was unheard of back in the 1960s for a Maori woman to be with the white guy. It was rare, and in the States, 1967 was when it made legal that a man could marry a black woman. Not that one's black, but I'm proud of my Māori heritage. In fact, Kapai Puku, I would have to, I don't know, I reckon it'd be one of the biggest Māori brands out in New Zealand, for sure.
Yeah. Wow. And man, that stuff is doing you well, because you look real young for your age, man. That's amazing. And like, not that 60 years old, it's not old, but in the grappling game, we're getting up. I'm 50 this year, so, I'm not too far behind you. I'm not, no spring chicken.
I get up in the morning at 4:30. No, actually, I get up at 5, and my alarm is set for 5:15. So if I get up at 5 a.m., I go, cool, sleeping, because I beat the alarm, and then I'll get up. And hey, folks, it's hard getting up out of bed at 5 a.m. or 5:15, and I leave that house at 5:30, and I open up at Peter Devine's at 5 to 6, and I've been doing that for over 20 years.
Wow.
I kid you. And when my kids were born, Kimmy would have been there sometimes. Yeah. When my kids were born, they'd be crying all night, and for me, it was I didn't mind, because my beautiful partner had 7 miscarriages. Wow. So when my first girl came along, Bianca, hey guys, I live in a house full of girls and a black belt.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
I live in a house full of boys. Same thing here. Same problem.
And I go, as soon as I open the door, it's Fight Club. But no, I love my girls. But I would get there at 6 a.m. I'd have 2 hours sleep. I would have had 2 hours sleep, 1 hour sleep. I'd go to, that was when Kimmy was downstairs. That's when you trained.
Yeah.
And I would walk in, and then I'd go, oh, I'm just tired. I'm just going to have a quick nap. And then I'd get blankets over me. I'd sleep. And then guys would go, hey, bro, it's 7 o'clock. And I go, what? And I was going, oh my God, I slept through the whole freaking class, but I'd make sure that I would open up.
Yeah.
And, Jiu-Jitsu, it's the amount of friends that I've made along the way is incredible all around the world. And the 6 a.m. has become a bit of an iconic class, and it's really cool because Kimmy will understand that, and you said it yourself. You went, geez, I've known bro for such a long time, and that's the thing.
Years now.
Like when you fight someone or grapple someone, you get to see who they are, because how you fight is a reflection of who you are as a person.
100%.
Are you trusting? Are you relaxed? Are you methodical? you know, it says a lot about the person when you grapple with them. Are they feisty? Are they short twitch? Is it going to be a long, protracted battle? Do they have heart? Are they going to tap out right at the last minute? You know, you can see a lot about someone when you grapple with them, don't you reckon?
Absolutely.
For sure.
In my case, I'm too nice. I'm too nice to people to grapple with.
So am I. For me, I've got to a stage now, and the thing is I've got a job at Urban Surf, so I'm a professional surfer. I kid you not. So they've got me there. I do public speaking. What I do is you get Urban Surf as this unique artificial wave that there's nothing like it in Australia. There's 22 million litres of water. You can fit the MCG in it. And every 11 seconds, you've got a picture perfect wave. It is engineering artwork. And when it's coming through, you get guys by the plane load coming in, and they land at the airport. It's a 5-minute drive to Essendon to Urban Surf, and they're from all over Australia. And the first thing they see are these perfect waves. They're as perfect as perfect. People go, it's a fake wave. You can break your neck on it. Yeah. And the amount of guys who do BJJ, because up in Melbourne, it's not such a big surf community other than in Torquay or around there for sure. But along the eastern seaboard, surf community, you know what surfers love? BJJ and surfing. It's freaking hand in hand. And the amount of times, you know, and the first thing that you see when you go there is perfect waves, and then there's me. I'm a surf guy. So I introduce guys. I go, hey guys, hand it up who's first time Urban Surf, and guys will put their hands up. And then I can see guys looking at my ears, and I go, well, I'm Mr. Kapai Graeme, and I just want to be your friend. But what you're going to have here is you're going to have the most amazing surf, and you're going to get perfect waves, wave after wave. And today, this is what I say to them. I go, today is going to be the day that when you're flying home, when you're driving home, you're going to be thinking about my words. They're going to marinate in your head. And today is the day you're going to surf the best you've ever surfed in your life. And another thing, what I want you to do is I'll be talking to 40 guys at a time, just in the lineup. So I'm public speaking, and I go, and furthermore, everyone around you has a story. Because ideally, normally when a surfer goes out, you've got one place like Snapper Rock in Queensland. It's an epic, iconic, right-hander. But you've got one point of takeoff, and you'll get 300 or 400 people in that lineup, and there's only one place it takes off. So it's very competitive. So you go into the water, and it's quiet. Guys don't talk because they're all competing for that wave.
Interesting.
And you look at surfers, they've got very similar physiques to guys who do BJJ. You look at them, like you go to the comps. When you're at the comps, you look at them, and it's six-pack city. When you go to a jiu-jitsu competition, like I saw a mate of mine in the last one, and you saw these, you get young crew with their headphones on, and they're doing the rubber guard, and you're just seeing them roll up, and then you see them with their shirts off, and it's a six-pack city. Guys are freaking ripped. And that's the same as surfing. So then when they come to this place at Urban Surf, you're not competing for the wave. And I go, guys, what I want you to do, and girls, is I want you to do something you ordinarily wouldn't do. I want you to have a little bit of courage and turn around and say, g'day. This is who I am, where you're from. Because I think we all have a story, and that's what I think is what makes a podcast interesting. Because I don't think it's so much, for sure the people, but we all have a freaking interesting story. And then here I am, I'm paddling out, hey, and I will burn 9,000 calories. So last Friday or Saturday, I paddled out into the water at 7 o'clock in the morning. By 9 o'clock in the morning, I'd already ridden 40 waves. And then I get out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And my arms are just paddling continually. So what it is a push up quick to my feet, and then I paddle around. And then I'll make sure everyone's safe, and I'll integrate, I'll converse with everyone in the lineup. But what the things that I love about it is the paddling. I'm paddling, and then you've got, it's flat, and it goes beep, 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 beep. And then out of nowhere, this wave jacks up and boosh. And then if you make a mistake, you can get hurt. It hits a concrete reef. People do break their necks and arms. It's a
Wow.
savage, and it goes boom. And then you've got this barrel. So you've got to be on point. But when I'm taking off, it's like going on your marks, get set, sprint as hard as you can with your arms, and you're exploding off the wall, and then bang to your feet. So can you imagine that relating to a jiu-jitsu game? You're just getting this amazing, like my heart rate at the moment rests at 42 beats a minute.
Amazing.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that's the surfing. And then what I love about jiu-jitsu, like when COVID happened, I thought, okay, we closed down, I'm not going to be able to train. And for me, I thought, how am I going to get something positive out of this? And you know what I did? 273 days. I did yoga every single morning. I do it under the West Gate. I do it under a tree. I do it next to a bus stop because there'd be no one around. I had my electric skateboard. I'd have my dingo. He'd be following me around Melbourne City. And it was like someone had done a bomb and it killed all human life.
I know that
There
feeling.
was
Yeah.
no one in the city. No one. And the only thing that you could hear is the whine of my electric skateboard meandering through the streets of Melbourne. And then you'd hear my dingo's claws just going tick, 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 and behind. And then I'd set up my mat. I'd go to a really nice area. Normally there it would just get hundreds and hundreds of people and there'd be no one around. And you'd see cafes closed, and you'd see spider webs on the windows. Normally these windows would just be these pumping Melbourne metropolis cafes, and I'd be doing yoga there. Anyway, I'm on a tangent.
Yeah, no, that
yeah,
was
no. I'm conscious of time, and we definitely want to hear your story. So can you tell us a bit about like the start of Kapai Puku? So you previously did landscape gardening. Can you tell us how you made the transition with your business?
Yeah, well, when I started Kapai Puku, I remember bringing it in and Peter Devine, because I used to do one-on-ones with Peter Devine, and that's why my ears are like that, because he'd just go bang, triangle mauer, and then I'd just be trying to escape, and I get home.
You were like paying him to PT you in jiu-jitsu?
One-on-ones.
Yeah.
I did. I would do the 6 a.m. class on a Friday, and then I'd do 1 o'clock till 2:30 with Peter, and then I'd do the 2:30 class, and then I'd do the 6 o'clock evening class with Peter.
Wow.
But how I initially came up with it, I was in a hospital bed in 2000, and I wasn't feeling very good, and the surgeons, it wasn't a good place, and I was looking at the ceiling going, man, if I died, I've just...
Oh, I think your phone's ringing. Hold up 1 sec. That's okay.
Hang on, we lost that last sentence, Graeme.
That's okay. That's good. So you said, like, you're lying there in the hospital bed, you were looking up. That's what we got. Do you go?
Yeah, I was lying in the hospital bed. I was looking up at the ceiling, and then I was thinking to myself, I was thinking, I wonder what they ate in the beginning of time. What types of foods did they eat? And then there was a guy, I'm trying to think of his name, you'll Google it, and he was discovered in Italy, and there was a landslide. And he was the oldest man of the time. I think it was 4,500 years old. And in fact, it was the oldest crime scene ever, because he had an arrow in his back, and he still had perfectly preserved furs, and in his gut were seeds. And I go, there's something in there. He was living on seeds. So, I remember going to a health food shop, and there was a packet and had a couple of different seeds in it. And then I also had really bad psoriasis. So I just started adding these combination of seeds, and then I was going, it's too much like birdseed. How about I put some raisins in it to sweeten it up? And I go, I don't like those raisins. They've got sulfates in it, not so good. And then I started formulating them. And then Peter Devine would go, what are you eating? I go, it's just this mix that I make. And he goes, can you get me some? And I go, sure I can. So I get it in a bucket. I put it in a bucket. And then mates would be coming up, hey, bro, because everyone used to call me Maori, bro. They go, hey, bro, can I buy some of those seeds that you've got? And then I go, yeah, sure. So I get an ice cream container, I get gaffer tape, I wind it round, and then I just give it to my mates. And then my friends from jiu-jitsu, who I was giving it to, they'd give it to their mums, they'd give it to their work colleagues. And then the next thing, people who were constipated would be going, oh my God, I've just got this blend and it's making me shit 3 times a day like a didgeridoo on time like a freaking swatch. And then I'd have it. And then I was going, what am I going to call it? And then my mother carved me this manaya, and on the brand it's got a manaya. The manaya is on this here. You see it in there. It's a statue, and it's she made it out of whalebone for me, and I carved it out of stone. And then I was sitting, because I was a landscaper back then, and on my drives I had an akubra hat. I had the bone carving stitched to my Australian akubra hat, and I was looking at it and I was going, what am I going to call the business? I grew up in a Maori extended family in New Zealand. All the relatives lived in the one room, and I used to go past my mother's sister's room and I'd go, don't look, don't look, don't look. And I'd be this young 8-year-old walking past the room, and then it'd be like touching wet paint that you don't want to touch. I would look, and then I would see her naked body and these big tits and massive nipples. I go, oh, I've got the vision in my head. And then I used to say, I go, I've seen the big puku. Oh, I've got the vision. And then I was looking at the thing going, what am I going to call it? And I went, good stomach. We all want a good stomach. We all want a six-pack. So good stomach in Maori means Kapai Puku. And then when we had the business, I was going, what am I going to call it? I went, Kapai Puku. And I'd go, well, I've got to be honest here. You do a good shit. So I said, Kapai Puku, the best shit. And then I'd just get stickers. Instead of putting it into an ice cream container, I'm putting gaffer tape around the ice cream container. And then these random people would be calling me, and they'd be going, you've got that Kapai Puku. And then they'd giggle, be shit. Yet it'd be a 70-year-old woman. And I go, how did you get? And she goes, oh, it's just a friend of a friend told me about this stuff. And apparently you do the best shit. Would I be able to have some? So I was driving Kapai Puku all around Melbourne. And I said to my wife, I said, sweetheart, we're designers, we're landscape designers. This is not what we do. And then she said, hey, Graeme, I think there's a business in this. So our first big blend was 100 kilos. And then I'd make it with a dear friend. Do you remember Shannon?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and I bless him. He passed away in a mountaineering accident in Coromandel a few years ago. And then Shannon and I and Steph, Shannon, Stephanie and I would be mixing it in our spare room. We'd have bathing caps on because we didn't want our hair to go in there. We'd have goggles, swimming goggles on, so the dust wouldn't get into our eyes. We'd bleach these bins out, and then we'd just be stirring it up, and then we'd be putting them into bags.
Like a healthy meth lab, man. It was like a healthy meth lab.
Yeah, you know, like I said, you know, when you're at Urban Surf or when you go there, we all have a story. Oh, and then people going, and then people would come to jiu-jitsu, and then they'd come in, and then they'd be going, hey bro, can I buy some of that Kapai Puku? And then I'd be training at jiu-jitsu, and then I'd have a wad of cash.
Yeah.
and then I would have all these bags of KP. And then Peter Dabina would just be watching it going, I need a piece of the action. And then, you know, I'd go to jiu-jitsu and I'd come back with a wad of cash, and I'd just be giving it to all my mates.
That's so
because
great.
they saw the benefit of it.
So you are,
so that was,
sorry to cut you off, but wow, I got the world of Kapai Puku now. That's amazing. But now I mean, your energy is next level. Like I acknowledge you for your energy, man. Like, woo. I'm high off you right now. But my question for you is jiu-jitsu. Where did that start? Like for you, like how did you first walk into the door? Was the Bean Studios your very first jiu-jitsu experience? Had you had training before that? Like how is it that you ended up in the BJJ world?
I did karate as a youngster, and David Carradine, Kung Fu. I don't know if you guys remember. I think it may have been before your time. I used to watch it every Saturday night in New Zealand, and I used to love it. David Carradine and Kung Fu. And I used to see this guy, and then an arrow would be coming, and he'd go whoosh, And then he would use this arm-to-arm combat and win these amazing fights. And he had this wise old man, the monk. And I was intrigued with the martial arts, but I was also really intrigued with the monk. In fact, you know, the game changer for me was meeting it. And then I used to go, how good would it be to have a smart guy like that? And he's blind. And the only possessions he owns is the clothes on his back. And that was a game changer for me. In 2000, I met a guy, Geshe Doga, and he's a Tibetan monk. And the only possessions he's got are the clothes on his back. But in my opinion, I think he's the smartest guy I've ever met in my life. So he's been a massive influence on my thinking. But I remember I was at high school, and I went to a boarding school because my parents wanted to get me out of the ghetto in New Zealand, which it was. It wasn't a ghetto, but there was, you know, it was I loved it. It was home, but they got me out of South Auckland. It was like once for warriors, and they took me and I went to this really cool school. And but before that, I was doing karate full on. And my fist work was really handy because you'd be sparring all the time. When you get popped in the nose, my eyes would water up. You know what it's like when you, but you know, I started at a very young age karate, and I remember getting into a fight at high school, and the guy was a wrestler. And I remember just going pop, pop, and I just popping him in the face. I didn't get the chin, and then he suplexed me. I went upside down, and I was going boosh down on my back. And then everyone was going, use your karate. And I was going, karate doesn't work down here. And there was a big circle around me. Everyone was going, use your karate, use your kung fu. And this wrestler, his name was Graeme, real skinny guy, and that's all he did. And he got me and he suplexed me. And I was going, what the fuck? I went upside down, landed down, and he pinned me. And the whole crowd was going, use your kung fu, Bruce Lee, use your karate. But karate doesn't work when you're pinned to the ground. That was the last fight I had. I had a fight a few, you know, about 4 or 5 years ago, which is a totally different thing. But that was the last fight. And then I was just going, man, I don't want to get, you know, I was humiliated. And I was going, karate did nothing. I was there and I couldn't move. And then in Melbourne, I was doing kickboxing and boxing. And there was a picture of John Will and in this boxing place, and these guys were going, hey, you should go and see this guy. There's John Will, there's another guy, and his name's Peter DeBean. Why don't you go and see him? And it's a different type of fighting, and that's when UFC first that was the first stages of UFC. And I remember going to Peter, and he was this, you know, this real charismatic guy back then in 2000. And I remember walking in there. And then, you know, he put me in a gi, and then he goes, do whatever you want to do. And I was landscaping back then, and I was strong. I'm super fit now, but I was 85 kilos. It's a human bobcat. I remember just going in for a headlock, and he got me. And then the next thing, my arm went up like that, and then he just bang, and then it almost applauded me. And then I just went again and again and again, and I went, oh my God, I've never been beaten up like that. And that was the starting point of jiu-jitsu.
Amazing.
Wow. So you came, was it a brochure or something that you saw? Where did you see his name?
I saw, no. These guys who were sparring in this ring would go, you should go and see this guy, Peter DeBean. And
he said it was a poster on a wall. He said it was a poster on a wall.
Not of Peter DeBean, of a guy called John Will.
Of John Will.
Had a picture of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the guys were going, go and see this guy. And it was like, I don't know who Peter DeBean is, and I don't know who John Will is. And then they just gave me the number, and I called Peter. You know, it could have been John Will. And I surfed with some great mates. I've got a friend, Cam, and he's a surfer. He's a black belt. And I've got some great mates. I've got mates from all over, so many different academies. I sort of, you know, I'll take someone on their character rather than the academy that they were. It doesn't mean anything these days.
Yeah,
it does. I mean, I love where I roll because I've just got these beautiful friends. But yeah, that was the beginning.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Kim, is it your turn or my turn? Because I know we're going to run out soon.
Yeah, we might. You go.
Yeah. So Graeme, I've got videos of you. Your voice is one of the most recognizable voices. I've got literally, like, my son competed in the VIX one time, or was at the Arnold Classic. and your voice is ringing out over the entire Arnold Classic. Like whenever you get on the microphone, it's the most distinguishable voice. It's a very warm, inviting, friendly voice, man.
Oh, you're beautiful.
You are. But what is the plan? Like, what's next for you, brother? Because okay, you've got your black belt, you're a 3rd-degree black belt, you've got your Kapai Puku business, you've got your work out at the surf place,
Beautiful family.
beautiful
2
family,
girls.
lots of women in the house.
They are.
So what's next?
Who knows what I don't know. I do, just to be kind, to be present, and take every moment as it comes, and not live too far in the future, but to be present. Like right now, where am I? I'm wrapped that you both reached out for me to do this. I just take every day as it comes. I mean, I am visionary with the brand. To think that I started the brand from an ice cream container, and that was 0.0. Now it's $1 million business. There's a new zero. Can we take it to another level? Yeah. You just don't know what's around the corner. No one knows what's coming. But where am I going? For me, health is the wealth. There's no two ways about it. And being kind and being considerate. And when I do jiu-jitsu, I want to teach people. I want to teach them how to beat me. And I love it when I see a white belt, and then I see him, and I saw a guy, Julian, and he was grappling the other day. And then I was just going, "Hey, Julian, your top game's really good. I'm impressed." I was rolling with a friend of mine, Tony. And then as I'm trying to pass him, he's seated guard doing Marcelo Garcia, which is the way I roll seated guard. And I was going, "Tony, you were so good." And then I went to a comp, and I saw my mate who started from no skills at all, Crocker. He goes in, and then I was going, "Crocs, we need to do some warm-ups," and we're just doing X guard. And I do a lot of X guard. And then he went into the fight, X guard, bang, and he just went. And I love seeing people develop. And anyone who's in the BJJ, I think when you start teaching, is you're reverse engineering it, and I so think that's transferable into the reverse engineering on why it happened and how not that to happen, and then to take that set of skills and then bring them into a business set of skills, into a confrontation where you can take it right down to zero, so there is no conflict. I think jiu-jitsu is so good for the inner confidence. For me, it has been, for sure.
Absolutely.
And something, Anton, you might not know, our listeners might not know, that Graeme's brother, Mike, is also a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, wow.
So they train together, and in typical Peter Devine style, he likes to have nicknames. So we actually call them B1 and B2, like the bananas in pajamas. So yeah, he's how's he going now, Graeme? How's Mike going?
He's in the
living up in
States
Sydney now.
Yeah, no, Mike was training with a guy called Bruno Alves. Oh, love Bruno.
We've had him on the podcast too.
Love Bruno. I served with Bruno. I served with another friend of his who's just and Mike's in the States. He's still very passionate about jiu-jitsu, very much so. And for a lot of practitioners who are watching us doing jiu-jitsu, I just think it's so good for mental health. Because when you're doing BJJ and you're grappling, you're not thinking about yesterday, you're not thinking about tomorrow, you're in the moment, you're not looking at your mobile phone. And in that moment, and when you do weights, you're doing weights. The dumbbell is not going to do an armbar or triangle or omoplata or figure four or kimura. It's not going to do any of the above. But when you're grappling, it is real. You go like this, you engage, it is absolutely real. And in that, there's silence. The silence is in the moment. And when you're in the moment, you're not thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. And that is really good for mental health, I think.
Man, I totally agree. Except I haven't had that forever. All right. Like I'm writing a book at the moment, and it's called How to Get Your Black Belt in Over 20 Years, Barely Pass Your Gradings, and Still Love Jiu-Jitsu, right? That's the title of my book.
Is that your life,
a student, right? But the thing is that I've got the silence now. Like there's nothing else. Before, like all through blue belt, all through white belt, all through the beginning of purple belt, all I wanted to do was be someone else on the mats, not be myself, please somebody else. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't present. Now I'm present. But I think it's something that people get at different stages in their journey. And, but I'm with you. I love that silence, just being present. in the moment, in the match.
And that's what we want, because we're not having, you know, a bank manager, not that I have that, or a confrontation. The silence is the emptiness, and the emptiness is the infinity, and the infinity is that space you want to be in, and that space you want to be in is there's no stress. And then as you get better at it, you start feeling it. You can see something coming on 3 or 4 steps ahead, and then you can feel it, and it's not a YouTube video. And I like that, as you bring, you know, you learn a certain style, and then you bring your authenticity to the canvas.
Absolutely.
It's like, for me, I like being in the zone right now, and I'm trying to get as in the zone of effortless leverage. There's a little small window in jiu-jitsu where there's an effortlessness involved. You watch guys who are really good at it, there's that effortlessness, and you go, they move with grace and effortlessness, and there's that small window. And I love it when I'm in that window and I can feel it. Like a lot of the time I grapple, I don't try to submit, I just go through and then go. And then sometimes, you know, if someone is nasty and something, I go, oh, okay, and then it's on the line. But I love that effortless leverage.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And all jiu-jitsu practitioners will understand where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any words of wisdom to wind up to finish up? We're nearly out of time, so just to finish us off.
Actually, just wait, because I've got one more question, and then Kim can ask her wind-up question, because I'm fascinated about something, because I can't tell. I've never seen you compete. Do you compete well? Because you strike me as someone who's like probably too nice to be a good competitor. But maybe you're a killer out there. I don't know. What's your competition?
I don't have that competitor instinct. I did compete. Yeah, and I have competed, but I think every time we wake up, the competition is endless in our headspace. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Understand yourself, because you know the chattering monkeys on your head. There's always competition in your own headspace. As you go, you know, if you're drinking, you're not trying to drink. If you're trying to cut down on sugar, there's always that constant battle in your own head. You know, you've got you're a father, and then your children challenge you, and your first reaction is going to be the wrong reaction, and then to refrain and be at peace, and then come back with a surprise reaction that's not, you know, it's thought out.
Powerful, man.
Yeah. So am I a good competitor? My competition's in my head. I'm constantly having that conversation. You know, for me to compete, bells and whistles and gold hanging around my neck, it comes and goes. There's no meaning in it for me, I must admit. But I do understand what you guys do, and they do practice their art for sure.
Yeah. Do you have any parting words for our listeners? Any final thoughts, please?
How cool the podcasts are! How cool the podcast! That's it.
Thank you. We're the only weekly Australian Jiu-Jitsu podcast. But anyway.
And then another thing, the parting word is "Adu Hanui." Yo. Adu Hanui, which means heaps of love and marry. Adu Hanui, yo.
I love it, man. Hanu.
Adu Hanui. So it's a nice thing to say. Heaps of love.
Heaps of love.
Thank you very much. But
you're
thank you very much for doing this and reaching out. I'm humbled.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Like I said, this show's almost just like me chatting with my mate. So it's really good to catch up and to share your story with our listeners. So we'll have this episode out in a couple of weeks, and look forward to seeing you on the mats.
Oh, I'm proud of you, Kapai. Very proud of you, both of you. Far out.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you lost to that other Graeme. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Like in the Graeme, you lost, and it put you here with us today. So
that's right.
Yeah, I'm honoured. Thank you very much for reaching out. I'm absolutely honoured.
Anytime. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.